leaking, the lying, the deception from Comey, Mueller, and his merry band of Democratic donors has weaponized our system of justice against your duly elected president. Now, with Mueller's runaway investigation on day 378, not a single shred of evidence, President Trump and even some top Democrats worried that Americans are getting sick of the seemingly endless fishing expedition. And finally, tonight, we'll bring you all the breaking news about Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's incredible meeting with a top North Korean official in New York City. But it's time for our very important, fast-paced breaking news opening monologue. All right, in early March of last year, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, was new on the job. He had just been appointed by President Trump and just confirmed by his former peers in the U.S. Senate. He vowed to uphold the law of the land as America's top cop. Without skipping a beat, Sessions stunned President Trump, the entire political world. He decided to recuse himself from the single biggest, most important case facing not only the administration, but the entire country, the ongoing so-called Russia collusion investigation. So we have the country's top lawyer immediately recusing himself from the single most pressing legal case without any prior warning to President Trump or those who confirmed him to the U.S. Senate. You probably remember this.
I asked for their candid and honest opinion about what I should do about investigations, certain investigations. And my staff recommended recusal. They said that since I had involvement with the campaign, I should not be involved in any campaign investigation. I have studied the rules and considered their comments and evaluation. I believe those recommendations are right and just. Therefore, I have recused myself in the matters that deal with the Trump campaign.
Yeah, career people. Now, what former Senator and Attorney General Sessions did at this point is so harmful, the ramifications so massive. His decision that day, the day after he's confirmed, is playing out today, and it's hurting the country. And according to Fox News legal analyst, our friend Greg Jarrett, who will join us soon, the Attorney General used a completely illegitimate justification for his recusal. Sessions, remember, he cited that he was required to recuse himself under U.S. Code, Federal Regulations 28 CFR 45.2 because of an ongoing criminal investigation. However, at the time of Sessions' recusal, there was no Russia collusion criminal investigation. It was a counterintelligence inquiry. In fact, the criminal investigation only started after Sessions' recusal upon the appointment of the special counsel, Robert Mueller. And here we are today. And now Robert Mueller is even reportedly investigating now. He's desperate. He's panicking. He knows this is blowing up. A meeting that took place between Trump and Sessions that took place shortly after the president was blindsided by his own attorney general's decision to recuse himself on day one. Does anyone really expect a sitting U.S. president not to question his brand new attorney general's decision to sit on the sidelines, recuse himself the day after he is literally confirmed in a case when he's taken the job the next day? And by the way, the president can order an attorney general, as Greg Jarrett told us last night, to make an indictment, not make an indictment, to investigate or not investigate something. So there's frankly nothing unusual or illegal about this meeting. We'll have full analysis, and we'll have more on the Mueller issue in a moment. But tonight, we have so many other important lingering questions for the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. Why didn't he tell anybody the likelihood that he was going to recuse himself before he was confirmed or before he was appointed? How in good faith can an attorney general act without participating in the single most pressing legal case facing this country, facing this administration? And now we can all see the damage of Mueller's witch hunt investigation and what it is, a flawed witch hunt, why he should, as we have talked about months and months ago, unrecuse himself immediately. This time he would be following the correct law. Without a doubt, when the Attorney General Sessions, who I have personally always liked and respected, what he has done here has now left this administration and country more exposed to the deep state that has been working against the president you elected since the very beginning. Just last week, we learned that at least one informant, likely more, working in coordination with the Obama Justice Department, actively infiltrating the Trump campaign, spying on a multitude of people associated with then-candidate Trump's election efforts. And here's what two of the men who were spied on had to say on this program right here last night. Take a look.
I think what this meeting was about was that they used me as a way to get an introduction to George. He wanted to go to George Papadopoulos, and I think, and he used Carter Page to get to me, and then he used me to get to George. And I really think that was the whole chain of events there.
I believe I got at least two and perhaps more approaches by individuals who were trying to offer information to the campaign that would have jammed us up in some way, shape, or form. I mean, it's very clear that Sam and Carter were both approached by a spy.
Lying to FISA judges repeatedly, not telling the FISA judges, not corroborating, not verifying, not telling FISA court judges, getting warrants, spying on Trump campaign associates. All of this happened. And you know something? Now we got spies that we're discovering that were in the Trump campaign. And as much as the media says, oh, it's not actually spying, it's an informant. You just heard for the three men that were approached by the so-called informant who's really a spy to tell them and seek out information because of this witch hunt that began, as we now know, in the spring of 2016. I listened to Chairman Gowdy today, who, frankly, I agree with on a lot of issues. He tried to play down what the president is rightly calling Spygate. Let's make this very simple. Here are the basic thesaurus definition of the term spy for all of you people in Congress, even those of you that claim to be lawyers. A secret or undercover agent. That's a spy. So make no mistake, the Trump campaign was spied on. A secret agent working with Obama's Justice Department, monitoring conversation and activities of many Trump campaign associates. You just heard directly from the individuals who were spied on and actively targeted by the spy. And Chairman Gowdy praising the FBI's overall handling of the Russian probe. No, Chairman Gowdy, look at McCabe, look at Comey, look at Strzok, look at Page, look at Loretta Lynch, look at all the others that abused their power. So we got to get this right. The FBI, literally under fired FBI director, which the president had every right to do, Rod Rosenstein himself recommended, James Comey's direction, used Hillary Clinton's bought and paid for dirty dossier full of Russian lies put together by a foreign agent and illegally convinced FISA judges, because they're supposed to verify and corroborate, to authorize a wiretap against a Trump campaign associate in the lead up to a campaign, all while the Obama administration is unmasking the names of American citizens caught up in other surveillance at what is a 350% increase from any prior year, and while the FBI was using spies to monitor at least 4 people associated with the Trump campaign. Chairman Gowdy, you keeping up? And let's not forget, after James Comey was fired for mishandling the Clinton investigation, Comey illegally leaked documents. He wanted to prompt the appointment of a special prosecutor because his BFF, Robert Mueller, who then appointed, let's see, the most corrupt, the most dishonest, merry band of anti-Trump Democratic donors, those people who are now doing everything in their power and have been to take this president down. How do you ever trust any special counsel that would hire Andrew, the pit bull, Weissman? How would you ever trust them? Let's see. He lost tens of thousands of Americans their job at Anderson Accounting, overturned Supreme Court 9-0, put 4 innocent Merrill executives in jail for a year, and that was overturned by the Fifth Circuit. You want him investigating you? Any congressman out there? Give me a call. Now, there are so many brave public servants that are doing important work in the FBI, in the CIA, in our intelligence community, some very high ranking. But we have now discovered abuse of power, bad apples that have a political agenda that are hell-bent on destroying this president, delegitimizing him, and literally ruining the vote of the American people. And by the way, in their eyes, this was the man that was never supposed to be president, and they were counting on it. Now, there are fears that Mueller's ongoing witch hunt will influence the midterm elections. I believe this is a legitimate concern. Now, former New York City mayor, current Trump attorney, Rudy Giuliani, who is with us tonight, will join us live in a little bit, weighed in on this very issue earlier today. Take a look.
president said he's going to meddle in the midterms.
Well, if he doesn't file his report by September 1st, mid-September, he's clearly doing a coma.
So will he fire him if he doesn't file the report by September 1st?
I don't think he's going to fire him.
The next sports station.
Want to see the investigation stretch out past the midterm election.
Damn right they do. It may be a mistake. It may be the American people have concluded that impeachment is not proper. They're going to do everything they can to say they aren't going to impeach him. Everybody in this town knows they do.
So tonight, it's not just President Trump. It's not Republicans worried about this political impact of Mueller's partisan fishing expedition. He couldn't find one Trump donor, not one. In fact, top Senate Democrat. There's now political fears kicking in. Mark Warner telling a crowd he fears Americans will start to grow tired of the investigation if it is not wrapped up this year. Oh, yeah, they're tired of it already. Take a look.
The notion for those who may be partisans of the crowd say, well, gosh, if the Democrats take control, they'll be able to really ramp these up. I think the American public will be tired of it if this is not wound down in this calendar year.
What did Judge Ellis say? Why do you go back to Paul Manafort's case? Oh, you go back to Manafort, you put the screws to him so he'll sing or he may compose so that they will get information they can use to prosecute or impeach a sitting president, a duly elected president. That Judge Ellis was dead on accurate. And according to a new poll from CBS News, a majority of you, the American people, you are rightly now already skeptical of Mueller's efforts, believing that the special counsel's investigation is what it is, politically motivated. Now, while this off the rails Russia so-called collusion investigation rolls on way past, way beyond any mandate they ever had, well, the president of the United States, well, he actually has real work to get done, including the negotiations with North Korea. Already, the president has secured the release of several hostages once held captive in North Korea. Kim Jong-un, he's no longer firing missiles over Japan and threatening Guam and the entire Korean peninsula or threatening the United States. The nuclear tests have halted. He crossed the DMZ, and hours ago, a top North Korean official landed right here in New York City for a meeting with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. The two men just finished a working dinner, and according to Pompeo, the meeting went great. A historic meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un is now still in the works. It may happen on time. We'll bring you the latest news on that developing story as it happens. Ed Henry will check in with us later on tonight with a full report. We also have Rudy Giuliani in just a minute. But first, here with reaction to my opening monologue, former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Joe DeGenova, and the author of the soon-to-be-released 5 weeks away, The Russian Hoax, the illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton and frame Donald Trump, Greg Jarrett. Let me begin with you, Joe DeGenova. Let's talk about the president and Jeff Sessions. In a way, as somebody that always personally liked, respected Senator Sessions, I cannot at this point defend any longer his inaction in some ways and that decision to recuse himself the day after he's confirmed. Look at what it has now done to the country. Your reaction?
Well, it was an unforced betrayal of the president of the United States who had appointed him. And here's the problem. The case that was being turned over to Bob Mueller at that time was a counterintelligence investigation. It was not a criminal investigation. Therefore, Jeff Sessions did not have to recuse himself. He could have supervised that investigation, stayed in touch with it, been aware of it, and even if criminal matters came up, he would not necessarily have had to recuse himself. In fact, we now know that it remains basically a counterintelligence investigation, and the only thing that Mueller wants to do is interview the President of the United States for no good reason in order to get evidence so he can refer it to the House of Representatives. There's never going to be an interview. The President should never agree to an interview.
He can't.
And it is very, very sad that Jeff Sessions created this problem by really getting out of something that he never should have gotten out of at that point.
All right, Greg, you were the first to tell us here that he cited the wrong statute.
Right.
When he recused himself. I mean, look at now, the president's not had an attorney, his own attorney general.
Right. It makes you wonder whether Jeff Sessions has a reading comprehension problem. He either misread the very clear regulation or he was misled by career officials. It says two circumstances you recuse yourself: in a criminal investigation or a criminal prosecution. This was neither one. It is no wonder that the president was angry. I would have been apoplectic and fired the guy on the spot.
Months ago on this show, you said he should unrecuse himself.
He absolutely should, since his recusal was wrongful. But for Jeff Sessions' egregious mistake and betrayal of the president, the likes of which I've never seen, there would have been no special counsel, and America wouldn't have been forced to undertake this Russian hoax. There was never any evidence of collusion. There was no intelligence to support a counterintelligence probe.
Let me go to you, Joe. And, we have talked at length how I can't wait for the day, if it ever happens, that we hear from 4 FISA court judges that were lied to, presented false information that was never verified, never corroborated, which the law mandates and which FBI protocol calls for, and they never told these judges. They can asterisk all they want, may have political taint, that Hillary paid for it.
Well, I think what's going to come out now is
and now the spies, by the way. Yeah.
Well, by the way, this investigation started at least in May, perhaps April of 2016. So the investigation that Mueller inherited is now more than 2 years old. It was started by a group of intelligence and law enforcement officials led by John Brennan and James Comey, who created false intelligence and fed it back into Americans who were lured overseas by Stefan Halper, who was an agent provocateur used by Brennan and the FBI to ensnare Americans who were completely innocent.
What about this phony narrative? And frankly, I've always liked shame on Trey Gowdy.
It was created. Oh, please don't even bring up Trey Gowdy tonight. That idiotic comment that he made last night and this morning about everything was done by the book. This is ludicrous. This was a false narrative created by the FBI and the CIA to plant intelligence overseas with Americans who were then feeding it back to the United States in emails and phone calls. And the FBI took that information and used it to get a false narrative in front of the FISA courts to get warrants. This is disgraceful. You know what? When Trey Gowdy was briefed the other day, they did not get to see one single document. How can you possibly say the things that he has said in the last 24 hours without seeing any documents? This is ludicrous.
Let me ask you, and everybody in the media, oh, he's just an informant. These are just informants. You met Carter Page in the green room last night.
Sure.
Sam Clovis and Michael Caputo. They're spies. You found the definition first.
Yeah, I mean, if you look up the definition and you put it on the screen, it defines exactly what the FBI was using this man for: to infiltrate the campaign, to induce and, in my judgment, entrap people into saying things that were incriminating. They never did, because there was nothing incriminating to say. There was no collusion. That's exactly why nobody has ever been charged with this fictitious crime of collusion.
There is no such thing.
There is none.
Sad. All right, guys, good to see you. We're waiting for your book, Joe. Always good to see you. When we come back, the president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani. Later on, we'll have a mini monologue. We'll examine ABC's cancellation of the show Roseanne, and we'll do something nobody else in the media will do, and we'll talk about liberal hypocrisy. That's straight ahead.
Trump. If they're really concerned about the Russians infiltrating a campaign, then why not try to stop it? Why not tell Trump? Well, the answer's perfectly clear. To me, they were running this whole story. They were pushing this scam.
Great insight. Rush Limbaugh earlier today pointing out, rightly so, that if the FBI is so worried about Russia trying to infiltrate the Trump campaign, they should have warned him. Here with reaction, former New York City Mayor, President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani. Two things. Carter Page on this show last night, Mr. Mayor, this was the spring of 2016. He's never met Donald Trump. And Comey's notes, the single biggest unreported part of it was Trump saying to Comey, hey, I didn't collude with Russia, but if anyone around me did, I want you to get to the truth. Reaction.
Well, the fact is that this investigation never should have taken place in the first place. If we consider the counterintelligence investigation, the spying, the Spygate, all appropriate descriptions, here's what I want to know. I want to see the documents which Trey Gowdy has never seen, which is outrageous. And I'm not going to let my client testify, the President of the United States, even if he wants to, without those documents being produced. And myself and Jay Sekulow and Jane and Marty, we're going to go over it with a fine-tooth comb. Only if and when we find that this was handled appropriately, and there's some evidence on which they could base this phony investigation, will we have them testify. But if there is no evidence, which I assume there is no evidence, then, I mean, he shouldn't testify. The whole thing should be squashed. I mean, it should be ended immediately. And we'll challenge Mueller to write whatever you got. Take your best punch with all your 13 Democrats there. You couldn't find a Republican?
Andrew Weissman.
How about an independent? How about you got guys with ethical issues at the Justice Department? I know that because I was a high-ranking official in the Justice Department. So you got a group there that's a lynching mob. So let them do their job. And boy, we're ready to knock the heck out of you with our report, which will be authoritative. It'll be backed up. It'll be backed up with law and facts. And we'll let the American people decide this. You know, some people have criticized my strategy, which is the president's, of, to some extent, playing to the American people. If this were a regular case, I wouldn't be doing it. But the people who will decide this are the people of the United States in the 2018 election. And they are switching fast, and the Democrats are running for cover. You don't hear them say the words impeachment anymore. I challenge Maxine Waters to say impeachment. Say it. Say impeachment, sweetheart. Just say it. Wow. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to go down. Not maybe you, because they vote for you. I don't know why, but they vote for you. But your colleagues are going to go down. And this is the change that we've brought about by engaging and not letting them get away with the unethical behavior that has now outraged Judge Ellis, Judge Wood. You know what she did? She threw Hannity, the television star of the left-wing CNN and MSNBC, she threw him out of court. He doesn't belong in a New York court. He's not ethical enough. You know why?
Mr. Mayor.
Because he's a big liar. And he wanted to debate me. Like heck, he's going to debate me. He should go debate in some gin mill.
You know, you said it earlier, and you're confirming here tonight, that if Mr. Mueller tries to subpoena the president, we will fight this all the way to the Supreme Court. Mark Levin has said the Constitution is on the president's side. Judge Ellis's comments, this going back to a 2005 tax case with Ukraine and Paul Manafort to put the screws to the president so that Manafort sings or composes supporting perjury and the hopes that they can prosecute or impeach the president.
Well, Sean, I have no fear of it, nor does the president. The president has done nothing wrong. Read my lips. Nothing wrong. So they can, and none of these people, Manafort, Cohen, they're not going to lie. They can go pound sand. They're not going to lie.
What about the spying and the FISA court abuse? I've been brought up that you lied to a judge. Wow. Good luck to you.
You got to go to jail for that. I mean, it's one thing to lie even in a criminal case. Another thing to lie in a counterintelligence probe. And also, the FISA judges really rely even more than a criminal court
Rod
judge.
Rosenstein signed the final FISA application. Sally Yates signed one.
I mean, so what? I mean, so what?
But it was the bulk of it
was
Hillary Clinton bought and paid for, foreign intelligence built Russian lies. Yeah, and they never corroborated it.
And why? And I'll follow up on what Rush said. Of course, if it wasn't spying, they should have come to the Trump campaign. They could have come to me. My goodness, I was the FBI Man of the Year that year. They could have come to me, and they could have told me, and I could have briefed the president, or they could have briefed the president.
And that would have been in the spring of 2016. The president never met Carter Page. Ever. To this day, he never met Carter Page.
He hasn't met most of these people. He hasn't met most of these people that they allege. And they haven't alleged collusion on the part of anybody. Even those Russians, the phony indictment they have of the Russians, who will never come here for trial. They colluded with each other. Russians colluding. Oh, wow, that's big news. Russians have been colluding since the Soviet Union.
No. All right, Mr. Mayor.
To interfere in our elections. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for being a patriot.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it, and the president appreciates it, if I may say so.
It's about the truth, and it's the biggest abuse of power, corruption scandal, everything we talk about with FISA, fixing the Hillary investigation, spying on a campaign.
Don't think that he has any reluctance to be interviewed. He's ready, willing, and able to be interviewed, and he'll knock him out. It's me and his lawyers that don't want to see the president set up.
I wouldn't allow, if I was a lawyer, this president to go anywhere near any special counsel that hires a guy like Andrew Weissman, ever. My 2 cents.
I hear you. I hear you.
All right, sir. Thank you. When we come back, an important monologue, the cancellation of Roseanne, liberal media, double standard. You won't hear about it anywhere else. That's next. Not funny. By her own admission, inappropriate, over-the-line remarks about former Obama aide Valerie Jarrett. In response, we all know now that ABC has canceled the reboot of Roseanne, the sitcom. Tonight, I'm going to respond to Roseanne Barr's tweet, and I'll also highlight what is a sad but all too obvious double standard in the country, where it appears that only conservatives are held accountable for their words, their reactions, while those on the left never seem to face consequences for outright racism, bigotry, or sexism. And that's tonight's important mini monologue. All right, we know this week Roseanne Barr, she rightly apologized for her comments, terrible comments about Valerie Jarrett. She went on to say that no one should defend her in light of what happened. Roseanne was right to apologize, but I would argue we all have to look at this moment and do better as a country. In other words, we've got to respect all races, all creeds, all backgrounds. Roseanne is a public figure. Her public comments did, in fact, hurt innocent people, and she is facing consequences for her actions. Now, she could say it on her own time, but ABC has their own decision-making, what they want to do. We also should all feel bad. A lot of innocent people lost their jobs in all of this. They have families, they have mortgages, they have rent payments, they have car payments, they have other expenses, college kids to worry about. Now, of course, Roseanne is not the first public figure, though, to make outrageous comments, and she even admits she has been held rightly accountable. So many despicable comments, though, and actions from those on the left appear to go completely unnoticed. There's a huge double standard. In fact, many get a free pass no matter what they say or what they do, including a former writer that actually is on Roseanne's show, comedian Wanda Sykes. Before the show was canceled, remember, Sykes announced that she was quitting the show to protest Roseanne Barr's tweet. But Sykes herself has issued outrageous, extremely racial tweets, including this one. White people, they don't steal wallets, they steal countries. And of course, Sykes never faced any career-ending backlash from that tweet. And let's not forget about another ABC employee, our old friend Jimmy Kimmel. Remember, he was on Comedy Central. He even dressed up in blackface. Take a look at this.
Hello, everybody out there, TV Town. This is Karl Malone of the Utah Jazz, here to tell you about Karl Malone home state, Louisiana. Sometime at night, Karl Malone look up in the sky and say, what the hell going on up there? Do UFO live on other planet, phoning home like E.T.? Karl Malone read on TV about white people getting deducted by alien. Now, Karl Malone never seen no flying saucer himself, but if he do, that's going to be a spooky time.
Now, ABC CEO Bob Iger, well, he puts Jimmy Kimmel on night after night after night. That's not all. Can't forget about Kimmel's pretty despicable, disgusting, extremely sexist skits that he did. Might remember this.
Hello, welcome to Hollywood. Would you like to have sex with me?
No.
Do you like to have sex with me?
Of course not.
Would you like to have sex? No? Please. I'm begging you. I think you'd enjoy it.
Big guy.
Yeah.
And his unit is relatively small.
Right.
Then it sort of gives you this inadequacy.
Right.
thing.
Oh my God! Oh, Jesus! You have 10 seconds to then guess what is in my pants. You ready?
Set.
Go.
It looks fun.
You should use two hands. Two hands. You're gonna make a fine wife.
I guess no one at ABC, Bob Iger, Disney, are outraged at all by any of that. Then, of course, you have joyless Behar on ABC's The View. Remember, she attacked the Vice President Mike Pence. Why? Because his Christian faith. Take a look at this.
What was interesting is that she said that Jesus tells Mike Pence things to say.
When was she around Mike Pence, though?
Well, obviously she was around him. I think when you have a Mike Pence that now sort of puts this religious veneer on things and calls people values voters, I think we're in a dangerous situation. Look, I'm Catholic. I'm a faithful person, but I don't know that I want my vice president speaking in tongues and having Jesus speak
like
to
I
me.
said before,
I don't know if I want that.
It's one thing to talk to Jesus. It's another thing when Jesus talks to you.
Exactly. Okay, well, that's different. That's different.
That's called mental illness, if I'm not correct.
But I'm
hearing voices. My question is, can he talk to Mary Magdalene without his wife in the room?
Oh, really? Mental illness if you're a Christian? Behar was eventually forced to apologize, but only after weeks of outrage from many viewers. She still works for ABC. Next up, there's good old Keith Olbermann is back. Short-tempered, Trump-hating, leftist pundit. ABC's Bob Iger just rehired him on ESPN. And you might remember Olbermann went on a number of vile tweet storms against President Trump, at one point against him and his daughter, tweeting, "Tell your racist, white supremacist, neo-Nazi father to get the bleep out of our society." Olbermann targeting the president, former Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio, quote, "You and POTUS can go bleep yourselves, you racist Nazi bleep." Yeah, Iger just hired him to go back to ESPN. Good luck with that. Now we turn our attention to NBC News. Last night they ran a special entitled Everyday Racism in America. All right, one of the hosts that were featured, Joy Reid. You might remember Reid recently came under fire for outrageous blog posts. She denied the allegations, claiming without proof that the internet had been hacked and the firestorm completely goes away. Everyone on the left, they just accepted what was really a bizarre explanation. NBC also frequently features, there he is, the Reverend Al Sharpton, on issues of race and social justice. The same Al Sharpton, you may remember, said all of these things.
I'm tired of the mac and beef. You ain't nothing. You a punk. Now come on, do something.
We the best chicken fries in the universe. But we don't go buy some kind of sandwich chicken. Folks was in the cave when we had built empires. We learned to admire them, but they knew to admire us. We built pyramids before Donald Trump ever knew what architecture was.
David, yes. You want to be the only on television. The only in the newspaper. The only can talk.
He works for NBC, which also frequently features Alec Baldwin, in order to make fun of the president on Saturday Night Live, despite Baldwin's, well, he's got a temper problem. Remember this?
I hope you choke. Thank you.
Did you hear what I said? Yeah. Answer me, yes or no?
Yes.
If you're here when my wife and my kid come out here, you've got a big problem. You know that, don't you? Okay. Maybe you are as dumb as you look. You are with Fox, right? You're the one that almost hit my wife with the microphone in the face? Oh, you didn't? Yeah? Yeah?
I honestly did not. We have
you want to apologize to her on camera? I asked you a question. You want to apologize to her? I asked you a question. Okay, get the out of here.
I'm leaving this message with you to tell you, you have insulted me for the last time. You have insulted me. You don't have the brains or the decency as a human being. I don't give a that you're 12 years old or 11 years old or that you're a child. So you better be ready Friday, the 20th, to meet with me. So I'm going to let you know just how I feel about what a rude little pig you really are.
He works for Bob Iger, too, at ABC, apparently. Meanwhile, over at HBO, the left is quick to throw a temper tantrum when Bill Maher speaks out against Islamic extremism, but pretty much laughs and applauds when Maher makes comments like these. Take a look.
A lot of us thought, oh, Ivanka's going to be our saving grace, you know, when he's about to nuke Finland or something. She's going to walk into the bedroom and, you know, Daddy. Don't do it, Daddy. You know,
Really? Okay, and let's look at someone else who's long been in the public eye. Screwy Louis Farrakhan. For years, Congressional Black Caucus, they hid this picture. They had it before the election in 2008. Farrakhan with Barack Obama to shield Obama for criticism given Farrakhan's racist and anti-Semitic past, including some of these classic insanity comments.
Here the Jews don't like Farrakhan, so they call me Hitler. Well, that's a good name. Hitler was a very great man. The satanic Jews, they control everything and mostly everybody. Because you see, white people deserve to die. And they know, so they think it's us coming to do. Caucasian mean weak-blooded, weak-boned, stale-faced. That pale, what the Indian call a pale man.
So as the mainstream media expressed outrage that Obama associated with that person or the American people being deceived, they purposely hid a picture of the two of them together. It's right there on your screen. Or then, of course, we got Bernadine Dorn, Bill Ayers, or, of course, Reverend Wright, the pastor of the Church of GD America. Let me be clear. I will never, ever call for any boycotts or anybody to be fired or any show to be canceled. You have the power to turn the dial. But it is important to point out what is a blatant left-wing double standard in this country. And perhaps the person who summed it up best was the White House press secretary today, Sarah Sanders, when she said this. Take a look.
The president's pointing to the hypocrisy in the media, saying that the most horrible things about this president, and nobody addresses it. Where was Bob Iger's apology to the White House staff for Jamel Hill calling the president and anyone associated with him a white supremacist? To Christians around the world for Joy Behar calling Christianity a mental illness? Where was the apology for Kathy Griffin going on a profane rant against the president on The View after a photo showed her holding President Trump's decapitated head? And where was the apology from Bob Iger for ESPN hiring Keith Olbermann after his numerous expletive-laced tweets attacking the president as a Nazi and even expanding Olbermann's role after that attack against the president's family? This is a double standard that the president is speaking about. No one is defending her comments. They're inappropriate, but that's what the point that he was making.
Well said, Sarah Sanders. And I said at the beginning of this monologue, let's think about this. It is time for all Americans, regardless of whatever your political affiliation is. Yeah, we all need to do better. We all need to hold ourselves, our friends, accountable for words and actions. We need to be one nation, one people. This country is going to succeed or fail together. If we're attacked, it's all of us attacked. We're supposed to be the United States of America, regardless of race, creed, color, national origin. My religion does teach me, all created, all of us, by the same God in his image. We can all do so much better. We've got to be the United States of America. That should be everybody's goal. Too many people have died and sacrificed for all of us to have liberty and freedom, and we owe that to every single solitary child in this country. Up next, Joe Concha, Geraldo Rivera. Stay with us. Geraldo Show, Fox News correspondent at large Geraldo Rivera. By the way, one of those Sharpton comments was from your old show.
Yeah. I recognize. I had a flashback.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant montage, by the way. You really laid bare the hypocrisy of the left, of the liberal media. There was no doubt about it.
You know, there's a part. Where do we go with this? Where does it end? Because I have never supported boycotts. My attitude is, you don't like the show, turn the dial. Don't ever, not here. You have to watch. No. But turn the dial. You don't have to watch anything.
Two things I'd like to say. Number one is what Roseanne said. I gave you accolades for that montage.
Breaking tonight,
what Roseanne did was far worse than anything in that montage. You cannot call a black woman in this day and age. You may not cross that line.
Everybody knows, and she agrees.
My second point is, I think that our friend, the president, missed an opportunity. He could have easily added a sentence to the tweets that he sent out, which were all legit, pointing out the hypocrisy on the left and when people are going to apologize to him for these insults. But he could have easily said, what Roseanne said was indefensible, it was an abomination or something.
Just by the way, Sarah Huckabee, in fairness, she's the spokesman for the president, press secretary. She said all that.
You want to hear my buddies.
Here's some of the strong reaction from the media.
Sure. Well, I wrote about this on The Hill today, Sean, about how conservatives are very upset that Roseanne got canceled. Not so much because they were defending Roseanne. No sane person could, to what you've said and what Geraldo just said. But many pointed to Keith Olbermann in this case in particular. And here's why. Disney owns ABC, which obviously had Roseanne on. Also owns ESPN. And they just hired Olbermann for the 6th time, as you said in your monologue. And look, as you pointed out, he has called out the president dozens of times and his family. I'll read you one alone, and this is incredible. This is all in one tweet. Quoting, F you at real Donald Trump. Nazi, Nazi, F, Nazi, Nazi, F, Nazi, Nazi, racist, Nazi, bigot, go F yourself, effing Nazi, F. Now, right. Now, Bob Iger then puts out a tweet after Roseanne is canceled. He says, and I'm quoting, Roseanne's Twitter statement was abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values. Okay, so Iger's going to have to answer for hiring Olbermann if we're now setting the standard